So if you know someone that's been dealing with infertility for any length of time, the chances are good that they've gotten a lot of helpful advice from well-meaning relatives, friends, people on the internet, strangers, on how to overcome their infertility and live their best life. Now, most of us infertile people recognize that those who share this advice with us just want to help. But when you hear the same things over and over again, especially if they have no basis in medical fact, it can get pretty frustrating. So if you want to learn what not to say to infertile people, keep watching. First up on the list is my least favorite Madlib. My granddaughter tried for 6 years to get pregnant, but then tried Weight Watchers and got pregnant right away. You can switch it up too. Watch this. My cousin tried for 3 years, but then tried acupuncture and got pregnant the next month. See? Isn't this fun? Okay, maybe it's not fun per se, but it's at least amusing, right? No? Anybody? Just me then? Okay, fine. But seriously, if you're an infertile person that has talked about your struggle to anyone, you've probably heard some variation of this. I get that people are trying to offer hope with this, but every human is different. I kind of want to get that tattooed somewhere. Say it with me. Every human is different. Just because Karen down the street got pregnant after eating nothing but wild yams and drinking coconut water from a blue straw while balanced on one foot singing Itsy Bitsy Spider doesn't mean it will work for me. But please don't try that, by the way. Yams just aren't good enough to eat at every meal. Okay, so this next one is pretty terrible, and I honestly don't understand why anyone would think it was comforting. Maybe you're just not meant to be parents. See? I warned you, it was pretty terrible. As someone that has been dealing with infertility for almost 10 years, and as someone with a failed adoption placement, I would say I have a pretty good grasp on what infertility and childlessness feels like. Basically, it sucks. Since my husband and I found out that our infertility was primarily caused by my health issues, I've had many days where I felt like it was my fault, or that my husband should go try to be with someone that doesn't have my issues. Luckily, he just kind of looks at me like I'm a moron and tells me that he loves me when I say crap like that, which helps. But basically, it just makes you feel like you're broken, which is a pretty sucky feeling to have about yourself. So when you're already feeling that way, and some ignorant but well-meaning person comes along and tells you that you just aren't meant to have kids, you feel even more broken and useless. Why everyone else, but not you, you know? I'm not saying you're a terrible person if you've ever said this, but please, please try to never say it again. It isn't helpful, it isn't comforting, it just hurts. So I don't know if you guys have heard, but did you know that getting drunk can cure infertility? You didn't? Oh, wait, that's because it's not true. I get that people are hopefully joking when they advise getting drunk, but it's still a phrase that has always sounded completely ridiculous to me. It's basically like saying, hey, I know that regularly drinking alcohol in large quantities can potentially lead to multiple chronic diseases, including
hypertension, heart disease, liver disease, gastrointestinal bleeds, cancer, dementia, and other cognitive deficits, anxiety, depression, and social and economic losses such as damage to relationships and loss of employment, but not to mention the host of issues it can cause to a developing fetus on the chance you do get pregnant,
But hey, it could work, because I know someone who got drunk and had sex with a stranger one time, and they got pregnant on accident. You should really try it. Seriously, though, I'm not going to get into the potential serious outcomes of heavily drinking while pregnant, because that's kind of a video all on its own. I will say, though, that there have been numerous studies done on alcohol and reproduction, and although the results aren't super conclusive yet, it's enough that most doctors advise minimal drinking or abstaining altogether when trying to conceive. Some studies in humans and animals have found alterations in ovulation and menstrual cycle regularity with chronic or prolonged alcohol intake. They also believe that heavy alcohol use may diminish ovarian reserve. As far as the male side goes, some studies on long-term heavy alcohol use have reported reduced gonadotropin release, decreased testosterone and sperm production, and testicular atrophy. So like I said, the results to these studies aren't super conclusive at this point. However, I have so far not found a single study that says that getting drunk will lead to conceiving. So if you're a heavy believer in that one, sorry about that. Next up is a favorite of mine. And by favorite, I mean least favorite. Why don't you just adopt? There's just so much I could say about this one. Okay, so adoption is an option. Sometimes. For a domestic infant adoption in the US, the average costs are between $20,000 and $40,000, depending on a number of factors. International adoptions tend to cost around $35,000 on average. I don't know about you, but I don't know a lot of people who have $30,000 just lying around. Plus, about 1/3 of adoptive parents report at least one false start, also known as a failed adoption placement, which can be devastatingly hard. Before anyone can say it, yes, in the US we have the option to adopt from the foster care system. While this option offers vastly lower costs, usually between free and $2,500, it isn't going to be a valid option for everyone. Some states allow you to adopt from the foster care system without being licensed as a foster parent, but some require that you are. All types of adoption require you to undergo background checks and home visits. Most types require a physical or other determination of overall health. You also would be required to share detailed information about your background and lifestyle. In some states, a history of mental illness can exclude someone from adopting. Some states simply require a letter from the prospective adoptive parent psychiatrist. I'm not saying people shouldn't adopt. Please do not let that be the takeaway here. Adoption is a beautiful and wonderful thing, something I wish more people would do. But although it is beautiful and it is wonderful, in no way is it easy. When someone who has biological children of their own tells an infertile person to just adopt, it seems like they're saying that infertile people have all the responsibility for the orphan children of the world. Being infertile is not a reason to adopt. Wanting to create a stable, loving home for a child is a reason to adopt. And that's something we all, not just those of us that are infertile, should consider. So this next phrase is kind of a funny one to me. Just enjoy being able to sleep in, travel, go out whenever you want, etc. I mean, the short answer to this is, I do. Who doesn't enjoy sleeping in sometimes? After 9 years of infertility, I honestly have days where I feel like I may not have it so bad. I see someone having to deal with a munchkin having a total meltdown in the grocery store, or have my sister-in-law tell me about how my niece had a dirty diaper that went all the way up her back in some kind of anti-gravity poo explosion. And I think, maybe I'm okay. But then I see the baby's first 4th of July onesie at the store, or think about how my niece only wants mommy when she's sleepy or scared. Or go in the room in my house where I usually avoid, because it has the empty crib and the unused baby clothes, and I realize something. Yeah, I have a life that, overall, I love. I have an amazing husband, a loving family, a house and a car, and a business I started from scratch. But at the end of the day, it isn't the life that 10-year-old me expected I'd have. She expected that I would be a young mom, maybe eventually having 2 or 3 kids, and a group of other mom friends that got together and did yoga or drank wine or whatever mom friends do, I don't know. So it's not only the loss of not having a child, but really more like the loss of a life. No amount of sleeping late, last-minute traveling, or dinner out can minimize the loss of the life you thought you would have. Up next is a fan favorite, and again by favorite I mean it's basically hated by every infertile person that I've ever known. Just relax! Now please note that I'm definitely not saying that stress for couples trying to conceive is irrelevant. It can definitely be a factor. However, it's very far from being the only factor, as it would seem proponents of this phrase believe. You can find a variety of studies that show the influence stress has on infertility. Up until the early 2000s, many researchers and medical professionals thought that stress in and of itself could cause infertility. More recently, though, they're realizing it just might be the other way around. Jackie Boyvan, PhD, a senior lecturer at the School of Psychology at Cardiff University in Wales, had this to say on the subject. The second you say to women that there's a connection between stress and fertility, they think, I'm so stressed at work, I've probably shut down my ovaries and will never get pregnant. Stress could disrupt fertility, but it very rarely, if ever, causes people never to conceive. For me personally, I have both endometriosis and polycystic ovary syndrome. These are both medical conditions that have hampered my ability to ovulate and thus conceive. Neither of these conditions can be cured by relaxation. Be nice if it could, though. But if you're trying to conceive, making an effort to relax isn't a bad thing. When humans are stressed, they tend to partake in activities that can hamper conception, such as smoking, drinking, overeating, undereating, or avoiding sex altogether. But relaxation shouldn't be shoved at people like a cure-all for infertility when that just blatantly isn't true. Not to mention that saying that an infertile person should just relax and it would happen makes it seem as if you're saying that the infertility could have been cured already if they had just stopped stressing. I don't know about you, but being blamed for something I have no control over makes me more stressed, not less. The last saying on our list for today is a super common one. Everything happens for a reason, usually said with a sage expression and a small nod. If you've gone through pretty much anything, you've probably heard this phrase from some well-meaning individual. I get why people like this one. We as humans like everything to fit properly in a little box, all tied up with a neat little bow. Unfortunately, life just doesn't work like that. Sometimes things just happen, and we may not understand why anytime soon, or ever. In 2014, Yale University did a study that I thought was interesting. They basically found that both religious believers and atheists alike tend to believe that events in their life were purposely designed by God, fate, or some other power. So while there are obviously many people who take comfort in the belief that everything that happens to them is part of a larger plan, some people find the words kind of meaningless, like saying, there, to comfort a crying person. Regardless of whether you're religious or not, offering mindless platitudes to someone with no personal context is usually the wrong way to go if you're trying to be comforting. I hope you don't leave this video thinking, man, those infertile sure do get offended easily. For multiple reasons, but mostly because you would be wrong. None of these phrases offend me. In fact, you could come up to me and say all of them, and I wouldn't be offended. I would be pretty impressed that you remembered all of them off the top of your head, but I wouldn't be offended. Like I said before, I get that most of the time people say these things because they just don't know what else to say. They usually want to offer comfort, they just don't know how. So if you're here because you know someone going through infertility and you want to learn what to say and not to say to comfort them properly, you, sir or madam, are a rock star. But this video isn't designed for you to take note of every one of these particular phrases so as to avoid them. It's more designed to get you to think. As my mom likes to say, and has said about 7.3 million times since I was a kid, how would you feel if it happened to you? That's really the key to this whole thing. If you were infertile, how would you feel? Look at your kids right now and imagine your life without them. No more messes, no more tantrums, but also no more tiny hugs, handprint paintings, or people saying, "Aw, she has your eyes." If thinking about that makes you feel like your heart has just been slightly crushed, you're on the right track to understanding us. I can't tell you exactly the right words for your infertile person because, again, every human is different. But starting off with something like, I can't really imagine how hard this must be for you, but I'm here for you if you need anything or just want to talk, would go a long way. If you don't know what to say, just tell them that. Honestly, someone coming up to me and saying, I want to comfort you during this crappy time, but I just don't know the right words to say, would mean infinitely more to me than someone telling me that everything happens for a reason or that I should try getting drunk or eating yams. At the end of the day, we're dealing with a loss, just like any other, and losses suck. Just be there, just be cool, and just care. Really care. That's all that really matters. If you enjoyed this video, or at least found it informative, please go ahead and hit the like button down below. If you want to see more of my various shenanigans, or, enjoy learning about infertility and reproductive health, there's a handy subscribe button down below as well. And in case you need another thing to scroll through when you're bored, here are the links to all of my social media goodness. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. take 7 million. Okay. La 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 la. Okay. Yay! I do like shenanigans, but I love shenanigans, but no. Tell an int. I said it wrong. I feel so. I think I'd have this fully memorized by now, like 17 times in, but I get why people like this one. I get why some people like this one. I get why people like this one. Ah! Why can I not read this line? It's a big cup and very little liquid. Today will be magical. Skipping this part, and I should have cut it out, and I didn't.
That's a good face. You should definitely keep that in.
Yeah.